Hello my little learners, you can call me @lovegood and I hope you enjoy this video. Here are just a few things before we get started. Today I'm presenting you with the second and last chapter of Stress Test by KittenCrusade on AO3. Thank you so much KittenCrusade for letting me podfic this if you somehow find this. Little learners, please go give your love to the author of this fic. The link to this fic will be in the comment by me on this video. Any warnings to the fic will be in the description of this video, just to refresh your memory. I apologise if my voice acting is bad, I'm trying to improve as much as I can, but anyways, thank you for tuning in to listen to me, but that's enough of my rambles and jambles, and let's get right into the fic. It took hours for the kids to calm down. Eventually, Midnight had returned from campus, and Shota had been able to text her and ask her that she'd come to help. So, with the Irosa's tea in their bellies and a discreet haze of an Mary's quirk in the air, the kids finally started to wind down from the panic and anxiety. He entrusted the sleepy teens to their class representatives, ordering the two of them to get everyone to bed, telling them that he would bring them a status update in the morning in order to soothe as much of their leftover discomfort as he could. Midnight teased him for being a softie as they left Heights Alliance. He just ignored her ridiculousness as always. Of course, he was soft for his class. Those were his kids. They made their way into the teacher's dorm, Nimari breaking off to find something to eat. Shota made his way to his Ashi's room, shoving a bunch of clean clothes into a bag and grabbing the chargers from their phones and his husband's hearing aids. He made quick work of grabbing the necessities for the night before heading back out. He made his way across campus, quickly beelining for Recovery Girl's domain. He poked his head into the office to check in with his Ashi, and let him know that he brought their regular hospital bag. His husband smiled at him, but it was tinged with exhaustion and stress. He quickly conferred Midoriya's condition, not great, but not dangerous, before waving the underground hero off to take a shower and finally rinse the blood from his person. Shota ducked into the locker room across the hall from the infirmary, desperate to wash the evidence of his student's pain from his skin. He undressed and shoved his nasty clothes into a plastic bag they kept in their backpack just for such a situation. The feeling of his shirt peeling away from his skin made him want to cringe. He snagged the 3-in-1 soap from the bag and washcloth and towel from the linen closet before quickly making his way to a stall. He loaded the rag with soap and started scrubbing. He knew it wouldn't take much time. There were still a few things he needed to take care of before he could truly relax. So he did his best to rid himself of the feeling of despair and distress his skin was soaked in as quickly as possible. He left the bag on the bench for his husband to find and dressed in his dark sweats and black t-shirt, before throwing his hair into a low ponytail and heading back across the hall. Luckily, his next chore was already waiting for him. Nezu was at the end of Midoriya's bed, chatting easily with the Recovery Girl as he walked back into the infirmary. Shota waved his husband up and told him to hit the showers, promising to update him on the situation when he was done, before he turned to the principal to deal with the fallout of the situation they found themselves in. So, the commission is torturing teenagers now. The underground pro-hero started off. Nezu nodded and waved for Recovery Girl to hand over her report of injuries to the homeroom teacher. He glanced it over quickly, wincing at the sheer amount of noted issues, from bruising and contusions to torn ligaments and cracked ribs that could have been through the ringer. I've contacted Midoriya Inko and sent Kan and Majima to pick her up. She should be here within the hour. As for the commission, well, I don't take kindly to my students being taken and mistreated right under my nose, and it's happened twice this year. I won't have it, and I'm going to let everyone know not to mess with my school. I released a dossier detailing every single bit of backhanded and illegal thing I've got the HBSC commit over the past 10 years to 300 different news outlets in over 20 countries. By the morning, their dirty laundry will be scattered in view of the world. The only thing I've held back was the evidence at the office you infiltrated this afternoon. With the press already having shown the aftermath, we will have to make some sort of acknowledgement, but we need to do it in a way that won't damage Midoriya-kun's future. The three heroes sat in silence for a moment, feeling the weight of the decisions that needed to be made before the night was up. Before they could start planning, the door slammed open with a bang, and the shambling form of Yagi Toshinori all but fell into the room. "Young Midoriya," he called, before locking eyes with the marsupial on the bed. Shit. Principal Nezu stood, the rage he was radiating making his 3-foot-tall frame appear much larger. Yagi, I thought I told you to pack your personal effects and evacuate the property. Oh, well, you see. The principal cut him off, knowing there was no real excuse he could give. Where is Cementos? He was your escort, was he not? He gave me the slip. Pretty sure he jumped out the window when I wasn't looking. The answer came from the solid hero himself, who appeared around the edge of the door, arms folded, frown clear on his blocky features. As All Might tried to bail himself out and Nezu threatened legal action for trespassing, Shoto's attention was snagged by the shifting on the teen on the bed. Fuck. Everyone out. Now. The underground hero swiftly stood and knelt down by the bed, gently tapping a finger against the boy's arm to give him something to focus on as he came around. Hopefully he could keep the emotional turmoil to a minimum. He glared over his shoulder when he didn't hear the others leave. I swear to all the gods above and below, if you three don't leave right now, you will regret it if he panics. I will break into your homes and let loose a horde of ferrets. Cemento stepped cleanly back out into the hallway, not even wanting to deal with an annoyed Aizawa. Nezu looked to Yagi and gestured towards the door. We can just as easily finish this argument in the hall. He jumped from the end of the bed, obviously intending to move away from the traumatized student and bring the argument out of his earshot. But the object of his ire didn't move. Actually, I have something I need to discuss with young Midoriya. Izawa's eyes flashed with his quirk, and Nezu literally growled in frustration. Absolutely not. We will ask him if he wants to see you after he was healed. He should not have to deal with any extra stress right now. He is my successor. I have questions that need to be answered now that I will no longer be working here. Shoto ran his hands through his hair in agitation. What in the world could be so important that it couldn't wait a week? Yagi's oversized fists were clenched in his own irritation. I need to ask if he wants to come with me or not. He turned to his ex-boss. If he is staying here, I'm going to have to take it back. Nezu's fur was well and truly ruffled, making him look bigger than normal, as he slowly stalked forwards, the movements more animal than usual. You will do no such thing. That quirk is his now. You can't just take it away after he's put so much blood, sweat, and tears into learning how to make it his own. You can ask in a week or two if he wants you to take it with you, but I will not let you hurt him again. If he wants to keep it, it is his. That's not your call to make. As they argued back and forth once more, Aizawa watched in complete confusion, having no idea what was going on. He ended up not asking, though, as Midoriya chose that moment to fully come around. Hey kid. He spoke calmly, over the arguing going on near the foot of the bed. You're at UA. You're safe. How are you feeling? He waited, giving the teen a second to catch his bearings, but instead of answering, he watched as slowly focused green eyes locked onto All Might. The kid whimpered. Aizawa lost his cool. In under a second, the ex-hero found himself flying through the door into the hall. The underground hero stood over him, still braced from where he had flipped him. Yagi, if you try and come back into this room, I will do something a lot harsher than throw. Stay away from my kid. Nezu, out. Deal with this bumbling baboon or buffoon. If he contacts Izuku before the kid allows it, I'll take it into my own hands. The mammal quickly skittered into the hall and Shota slammed the door. He turned back to the bed to find Recovery Girl attempting to walk through Midoriya through his panic attack. She wasn't having much luck. Shota nudged her out of the way and she quickly made her way over the medlock, probably to get a sedative for if they couldn't calm the kid down. Izuku, hey, it's okay. He's gone. I'm going to touch your hand, okay? He slowly reached forwards, resuming his gentle tapping from where he made contact, changing the cadence a bit, that of a breathing pattern. Hey, kiddo, I need you to try and breathe, okay? Can you try for me? It's okay, just like this. He started exaggerating his own breathing, giving him something else to follow. As he was leaning past to stick extra pillows behind his student, he leaned the green hat against his shoulder to keep him from having to hold himself out with what he was sure was sore muscles. He was surprised, though. He felt shaking arms latch onto his waist and a forehead burrow into his neck. "Problem, child?" he asked softly. Sensei? Can I just for a minute?" Shota relaxed, shifting slightly to half sit on the bed. "Sure, take your time, kiddo. It's alright to not be alright." He waited as the kid cried out of the stress of the last few days. After a while, he saw the door crack open from the corner of his eye and cut his gaze up to look, not wanting to spook the kid by moving. He saw his husband poking his head in and moved just enough to hold up a finger. "Izuku, Yamada is here. Can he stay, or do you want him to leave?" The boy pulled back a bit to look over at the doorway, likely gauging his own reaction before answering. After a moment, he lifted his shaking arm and made a small grabbing motion before wincing. Yamada walked in and stepped over to the bed, careful not to move too quickly. He looked at the hand that was reaching out to him. "Careful, listener. I'm sure your shoulders hurt, so try not to strain them, okay?" The kid nodded before hiding his face away again. Hisashi settled down on the other edge of the bed, keeping a hold of Midoriya's hand with one of his own as he used the other to gently run his fingers through the green curls. The teen seemed to practically melt at his action. After a few minutes, the hiccups and sobs died out, and Shota pulled back to find the boy in his arms was once again asleep. Slowly, he laid him back against the pile of pillows, making sure he was in a comfortable position before he looked over at his husband. "So, if I murder the ex-number-1 hero, will you bear me out?" The blonde laughed quietly. "Sure, just give me a bit of warning so I can have our plane to Oroba booked in advance." With another chuckle, he leaned over to give the darker-haired man a peck on the cheek. "Nezu told me to let you know that Yagi's been escorted off the premise by the police. He is having the rest of staff set up patrol rotations, and he called class plans G for tomorrow, so the kids try and relax a bit after watching that on the news." Shota nodded. Plan G consisted of the courses going into rotations through the different gyms and training grounds for different educational activities. It was more like a stay-at-home field trip than a day of classes, and with the classes being grouped around in courses, they got the chance to mingle among the other friends and see different perspectives and have different soundboards. EAT on the other Midoriya. Hisashi pulled out his phone to check the time. "Another 10 minutes or so?" Shota nodded before standing to head over to Recovery Girl was sat at her desk. "You might want to change his fluids. The kid is weepy normally, but with what happened and throwing his mother into the mix, I'm sure there are going to be a lot more tears, and he was already dehydrated." The woman nodded and stood to switch out the almost empty bag connected to the boy via IV. "I have to drink so much."
Why?
Because my throat is dying.
Just because you're dehydrated.
I'm giving you more work. I'm gonna have a soother after this. Jesus Christ.
Can we get you one?
No, it's okay.
Okay, carry on.
As she fiddled with the tubing, Hisashi got a damp rag and bowl of water and started on the green curls he had been petting earlier. He had noticed they were still matted with blood and was doing his best to fix the issue. He did his best to be gentle, going in, a lock at a time, using the rag and fingers to work the gunk and grease free. He had the mass of waves mostly presentable, if still a bit oily, by the time Midoriya-san rushed into the infirmary. He waited through Recovery Girl giving her the full rundown of injuries, internally wincing at every one. When they were done, he bowed low and apologized for not being able to protect her son from the situation. "Aizawa-san, I don't blame you for this. I will be having words with my attorney in regards to All Might, though. He promised to protect my Izuku, to learn that he gave him over to be hurt like this." The pro hero nodded. UA's law team will be ready to work with your own representative. This will not get swept under the rug, I assure you. They exchanged a few more words before the mother went to sit at her son's bedside. Shota nodded to his husband, passing the watch back over to him before heading out the rat's office. Yagi Toshinori had committed a horrible crime, and the underground hero and the rest of the staff would be sure to make him pay. The next few months were hard. Midoriya had chosen to keep the quirk after taking Nezu's counsel, though the tutoring he was getting from the actual quirk counselors meant he was actually learning how to use it safely. But the kid was struggling with the repercussions from his stay with the commission. His right arm had already been prone to aching after the sports festival, but after the stress put on them during those last few hours of captivity there was some extra damage to the nerves. He would get random shots of pain if he moved his shoulders in the wrong way. The first few times it happened, pain also triggered flashbacks as well as his whole class have had their PTSD course earlier than usual to deal with the fallout of the kids seeing their normally happy and fleet friend suddenly collapse to the floor in a puddle of tears and pleas. He had nightmares too, which was to be expected. Eventually, after too many lights of being called to the student dorms by a worried neighbour who heard the screaming, Shota had just started having Midoriya and one of the others sleep on the couches in the common room downstairs. That way, the teachers patrolling the school could keep tabs on the cameras and rush to the dorms at the first sign of distress. And having his friends rotate who slept across from him meant nobody was getting burned out with guard duty. At first, Midoriya was resistant to the sleeping arrangement, resistant to needing help at all. But a few weeks of daily meetings with Hound Dog and Yamada cluing in the class on the fact that running your fingers through his hair was the fastest way to get the boy to relax, and he seemed to come to terms to the fact that he needed help. Especially after the rest of the problem children managed to get really good at calming his nightmares before they really woke him up. The hair trick was pertinent. The physical scars were what really seemed to disturb the rest of the kids though. The mental issues were too abstract for their young brains to really relate to. They saw issues, understood the science, and felt the need to do anything they could to help. For the first time, Izuku took his shirt off with the rest of the boys on a partially hot day during training. Izawa had to watch an emotional train wreck. Suddenly, the slightly askewed knowledge of their peer had been tortured was shoved roughly into their faces, in the form of crisscrossing lash marks and finely carved designs, small circular burns in the lacy pattern of Lichtenberg figures. He sighed and let them react. This was always coming, he just wished they didn't have to go through it so soon. Several of the kids ran to the side of the field, trying to make it to the restrooms before they lost their lunch. Others stood frozen as Midoriya realized the issue and also froze, a series of emotions flicking across his face before settling on one that almost looked like shame. Oh, that wouldn't do. The teacher started forward to intervene, unwilling to let his problem child suffer any more mental anguish over the situation. But Todoroki was closer and quicker. The small green boy was wrapped in a hug within a minute, and though Shota couldn't hear what was being whispered, he knew the other boy had scars. He often heard, more than likely, what he knew what needed to be said. So he stopped himself a few meters away and continued to watch. After a moment, the hug was joined by a sobbing Kaminari and then a shaking Yaoyorozu. And within minutes, all 20 members of his class were in a giant cuddle pile on the ground, crying together from the pain of their friend. After they had calmed down, the man gently prodded the class representative and let him know they were all excused from the rest of the classes, and that Hound Dog would join them in the dorms after school let out. But he wandered off to have his own breakdown over the children who were having to grow up too quickly. He knew things were slowly easing back into the territory of normal, but he also knew that things would never be exactly the same. Teaching these stupid, reckless, sweet, kind, lovable children was truly bittersweet, but he couldn't bring himself to regret it. He would just have to continue watching over them and doing his best to give them as much of a childhood as possible. Alrighty, my little learners, that is a wrap of this chapter and this fic as a whole. I did put a poll. I created a poll with what fic you want me to do next. All of them are multi-chapter. They're all on AO3. They have the name and the author. if you want to go look at them. But please vote in that poll, because I really want to know what you guys want to listen to next. I have read all of them, and I love them all and can't wait to reread them and podfic them. But anyway, this one, I'm getting into my little notes. This one was really sad. It was sad. Especially the reactions of like all of 1A. That hurt my heart, especially the first time I read this. But yeah, and Aizawa just this whole one is just so sad. This entire fic. But it was amazingly written. And please go give kudos to the actual author, which is KittenCrusade. Again, link to the fic will be in my comment. And that is all the notations I have, I think. So my little Lunas, this is a little reminder that you might have something you need to do or check. I hope you all have a loontastic time, wherever and whenever you may be, day, night, dust, dawn, low tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me at Lovegood, and that was Stress Test by KittenCrusade on AA3. That's all for this one, and yeah, bye little Lunas.